Hey guys, Dr. Joe here. Got a few more great questions that I'm really excited to answer for you today on some stretching and strengthening exercises we can do for our backs. So a couple of the questions were, what are some stretches I can do for my back, and should I be stretching before or after my workouts? Now, I'm a huge proponent of post-workout stretching or post-exercise stretching. It's very important that we get our muscles warmed up a little bit through some form of exercise to get the most effective stretch we possibly can with them. If you think about your muscles like a piece of spaghetti, right? Go to your pantry right now, grab that box of spaghetti out, grab a noodle out, try to stretch that thing. It's not going to stretch very far, right? It might even snap in half. Now you put that spaghetti in some boiling water, heat it up a little bit, throw some salt in there, cook it till it's al dente, pull that bad boy out. Now you're going to get a little more elasticity in that noodle when you try to stretch it, right? Same with our muscles. A big reason why I recommend post-workout or post-exercise stretching. Now, what are some specific stretches we can do for some of the muscles in our back? I'm going to touch on a couple of those today. One being a stretch for your lats, your latissimus dorsi, and one stretch for your QLs or your quadratus lumborum. We're going to start out with the lat stretch. It's responsible for moving our arms down like this, so it is a muscle that gets a little bit tight on people. To do this stretch, we're going to start to get down into a child's pose, like a yoga child's pose, but we're not going to bring our butt down to our heels quite yet. So we're going to reach our hands out as far as we can in front of us, with our butt still up in the air, and you're going to dig the heels of your hands into the ground for some traction there. You'll probably already feel a little bit of a stretch, but as you move your butt down towards your heels, with your hands still driven into the ground, you'll feel a stretch in there. You'll feel a stretch right in those lats. Now, if you want to make it a little bit more active stretch, you can actually drag your hands on the ground as you move your butt back towards your hands, still creating some friction there to create the stretch, but a little more active there as we move through the whole thing. Now, jump into a QL or a quadratus lumborum stretch. This is a muscle that attaches from your rib cage down to your iliac crest. Very important for stabilization of the lower spine. It's important that this is working correctly. It can be a big cause of stiffness in our low back. So we're going to go real wide with our feet here. I'm going to take my left hand over top and reach it up towards that right foot, right? And we're going to feel that stretch right there in our QLs, in our low back area. We're going to do it on the other side. Oh, yeah. Another good one. That is a great QL, quadratus lumborum stretch. One of the other questions was, what are some things I can do to strengthen my back to help prevent injury when I'm working out, exercising, this kind of thing? Love this question, and I love the answer to this question because actually the strengthening of our core stabilizers are going to be more important to prevent injury in our spine than anything else. There is one strengthening exercise that I love of some of the back muscles just because of the rolled shoulder posture. A lot of us are in anterior head carriage. A lot of us has some dysfunction in our scapulas and our rhomboids back there. So that is definitely something that I like to strengthen. And I do this actually between sets when I'm working out. I've got usually a TheraBand in my hands. I don't have one with me today, but just pretend I do here. And these are called W's. So put your hands out, right? Like my hands and my torso are kind of making a W right now. And I would have a TheraBand in my hands usually here. And I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades and back there. And that TheraBand is going to offer some resistance to that contraction. And we're pulling with our rhomboids here. So really all that's contracting are my rhomboids, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit here. All that's really moving, my shoulder blades are just coming together. And that helps pull our shoulder blades back and together, helps bring those shoulders back, and helps work on a lot of postural issues that we may have. And those are muscles that are generally weak in a lot of people. Important to strengthen those so we don't run into any scapula and shoulder issues. But like I said, it is very important that we have a strong core to prevent injuries, especially in the low back area. So I'm going to show you some exercises for those. And now I'm talking deep core muscles. So I'm not talking your rectus abdominis, right? Not talking the six-pack muscles, but we're talking about transverse abdominis. We're talking multifidus, pelvic floor, and actually your diaphragm is a big low back stabilizer as well, which is why it's so important that we're doing our belly breathing, right? First exercise I'm going to show you for these deep core stabilizers, it's called the hollow drill. So you're going to lay flat on the floor, and when you do this, you're going to have a little arch in your low back naturally, right? So you can kind of fit your hand underneath your low back there. Now with this exercise, we're going to work on pulling our belly button down towards the floor and actually flattening our lower back on the ground, closing off that gap. You can put your hand back there and feel the pressure on your hand if you want to get a feel for what the action feels like. But that's what we're going to be doing here. And we're only going to hold it for 5 seconds. So really and when we do pull, so when we pull our belly button to the floor and flatten that curve in our lower spine, our head and our feet are going to come up a little bit naturally, creating kind of that natural V pattern. Now, really only hold this for about 5 seconds a piece. I would recommend about three to five reps of this. If you want to make it this is hard enough on its own for 5 seconds. Trust me, it's a lot harder than it looks, but make sure you are flattening that lower back to the ground. If you want to make this exercise a little more challenging, extend your arms up over your head, and then do that same thing. Pull that low back towards the ground, and flatten out that arch back there. And again, we're holding that for 5 seconds. Another great exercise for those deep core stabilizers is one called the dead bug. So you're going to have your hips, your knees at 90, your arms are straight in the air. You kind of look like a dead bug on the sidewalk, right? Bug laying on its back. Again, we're going to want to flatten that curve in our low back and make sure those deep core stabilizers are contracted this whole time. And honestly, if you hold that right there, you can feel that. If you want a little bit more challenge, I'm going to take my right arm, my left leg, so your opposite arm and leg, and you're going to extend them simultaneously and bring them back. Now, my deep core is contracted through this entire motion, and you really want to work on stretching that hand and that foot as far away from your body as you can and bringing them back together. Those are two great exercises to work on some of the deep core stabilizers that are responsible for really stabilizing that low back area. It'll prevent a lot of injuries as you guys are going through your workouts and exercises and things. I hope this video was very helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, as always, feel free to ask.